First, I want to thank, I was going to say my sister in service because we say that a lot, but I would just say my partner in the work of liberation, because ultimately this all comes down to the work of freedom. And I'm so grateful for the example and the representative leadership of Representative Bush. I also want to thank, similarly, another colleague whom I have tremendous respect for and have admired from afar, and who has always had our backs, and that's Senator Gillibrand. So we thank you for your leadership and your steadfastness. And I want to second what my classmate and good colleague, Congresswoman Garcia, said about just how emboldening and fortifying and affirming it is for us to look out and to see this coalition of people from every walk of life, this intergenerational, multiracial coalition. It makes so much sense because, truthfully, the oppression, and we are talking about oppression, is one that has been not only legislated, not only unrelenting, but intersectional. And so in order for us to combat what has been an intersectional and legislated oppression, or just simply negligence, which is also an overlook, which has also oppressed us, this movement to bring about equality and justice and freedom must be a movement that is intersectional. So can we just hand clap just this incredible movement? A movement, you know, I do personally believe that resilience is something that is overrated and we tend to romanticize because that resilience comes from great hardship. But it is notable that we have sojourned on as a movement for 100 years. And although there were many names that were uplifted that are familiar to you that have been recorded in history, we know there are millions more who were never recorded, who are faceless and nameless, but they have kept this movement going and their impact will endure. And that is true for all of you in this room. 100 years that women and our LGBTQ plus siblings and other marginalized people have really been relegated to a second-class legal status in America. That's what it comes down to, a second-class status. And we have really normalized and conflated the experience of what it means to be girl, to be woman, with disparity, with injustice, with indignity, but no more. I'm going to take us back because I know Representative Bush, who's also a pastor, likes when I do this. We both grew up in the church. I want to take it back to my granddaddy's storefront church on the south side of Chicago when we would talk about justice and how long has it been? Too long. How long? Too long. So for 100 years, organizing and mobilizing, we have been to undo an unjust status quo that has resulted in daily sexism, pregnancy discrimination, pay inequity, sexual violence, attacks on bodily autonomy, and much, much more. So we're here to make plain that constitutional equality is powerful and equality is long overdue, because how long have we been waiting? Too long. And that is why we're using every tool and every lever of power at our disposal to get the ERA over the finish line. We've used the power of the pen to write legislation to remove the arbitrary barriers that have prevented the ERA from being ratified and affirm the equal rights of movement as the 28th Amendment in the Constitution. We use the power of convening to launch the first ever congressional caucus for the ERA, to mobilize within Congress to keep this priority advancing forward, to build a momentum. And we have also used the power of our feet over and over again, whether it was to the Library of Congress or whether it was to the United States Senate, to look those folks right in the eye before they took that vote, and they were just so indignant with it.
They were.
Stomping up proudly on the wrong side of history with a thumbs down, like they were not birthed by women, aren't raising daughters, and don't have grandmothers and mothers. Unbelievable. But we have sojourned on, and we've used the power of this movement to build a powerful and transformative movement to achieve real lasting change. So now we're introducing a bill, thanks to the leadership of Representative Bush and Senator Gillibrand, demonstrating that the ERA has satisfied all of the criteria in the Constitution to be added. We're being exhaustive in this fight because the stakes cannot be higher. Whether we're talking about equal pay, LGBTQ and trans rights, reproductive freedom, or our very humanity, the attacks against us are layered, they are exhaustive, They are intersectional, and again, our response in this movement must be too. And as a black woman, all my life I've had to fight. We daily experience these indignities of an unjust society, and that is what is so incredible about the strength of this movement, and so resonant and timely and essential, that this movement today, in 2023, is being led by the most marginalized, who stand to benefit the most from gender equality finally being enshrined in our Constitution. So again, I thank these two visionary and dedicated leaders in Representative Bush and Senator Gillibrand. It's time we finish this century-long job so our generation is the last generation to live without gender equality. And I will close with the words of Angela Y. Davis: I am no longer accepting the things I cannot change. Instead, I am changing the things I can no longer accept.